Welcome to the Gals Guide podcast. Join us on an adventure to get to know famous and infamous women from around the world. Each of our presenters has a pick. Is she ancient history? Is she breaking news? Is she safe for work? Well, that's up to each presenter. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Leah, Bonnie, and Claire, sharing our personal change gal. Bonnie already talked about Dorothy Mary Crawford Hodgkins. Oh, love those four names. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
But before we dive back in, I need to know something rebellious about our gal pals. I would like to know if you could give your younger self permission to break one expectation sooner, what would it be?
Dun, dun, dun.
All
I did write
right.
this down, but right before we started recording. And now I'm like, I don't know if necessarily this is my answer anymore, but I'll tell you what I wrote down.
Wow, it's okay.
From 10 minutes ago.
Yes, I know. Yeah, exactly. Past me. Said to be farther faster if you believed in yourself and had fun. I don't think I really gave myself permission to have fun.
You took it all too seriously, you feel like?
It had to be perfect. It had to be thought out. It had to be meaningful. It had to be all of these things, but not fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I've got. I'll stick with it.
That's true. I mean, as teenagers, our life is, here.
Mhm.
I'm making my hands short for everybody out there.
Thank you. Yes.
Listening. Yeah. You haven't lived that
Benefit.
much, so you just don't know, but it all doesn't have to be so serious.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Bonnie, Claire, what do you think?
I was thinking of that I don't have to be instantly smiley polite to everybody.
Okay.
I feel like as women we're taught to be welcoming, whatever. And
Yeah.
I've worked in retail my whole life, and it's my job, and I can turn that on and off.
Yeah.
But especially as a little kid, they were like, oh, you know, especially if I could go back now and punch so many men for telling me that I would look so much better if I smiled.
Yes.
I had not realized
Yeah.
that was a thing when I was a kid. I thought it was because I was very shy. So I was probably just in weird overload and just not smiling. And then they'd say that. I'm like, I internalized it's because I'm a little shy girl.
Yeah.
Which I'm growing out of. I'm growing into my fuck it 40s, and I'm very excited.
Yes. Do it.
Not
so
waiting for that.
good.
Yeah, but you internalize that and put it on you, and really it was a them problem.
Mhm.
I'm like, if you need somebody to smile at you, find somebody that wants to smile at you, but you suck, and that's not me. Yeah.
I'm very much a very happy person most of the time, and but yeah, the thought that you are supposed to when you run into someone in public, you need to smile.
Right.
Yeah.
And be
You
happy.
owe
I don't
it
have
to a
be.
stranger that you don't know.
I don't have to punch him in the face either. I can just be neutral, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Correct. I like it. Yeah. No. Good life lesson.
Bonnie, I want to build you a time machine.
So many, I don't even know how many it was. I can't picture a particular one, but I just remember repeatedly as a kid, we'd go somewhere, go with my dad to go get the oil change. So the dude's like, yeah, you should smile. And I was like, I thought it was just because I'm sitting there reading my book, being a little shy nerdy person.
Claire, what's yours? What are you thinking?
If I could give my younger self some advice, it would be take sick days.
Ooh, yes.
I used to be a K-12 teacher, and we were expected to come to work no matter what, no matter how sick you were, if you were injured, if you got in a car accident on the way to work, you get a ride and you get to work. I was told by bosses if we took sick days, they would have to fire people.
Oh.
And it's no. That's the district's problem of funding. If I'm sick, if I have the flu, If I have pneumonia and bronchitis, I should be able to be home for a day or 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a K-12 teacher anymore, and I'm way healthier, but giving yourself permission to take time to care for yourself when you're sick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that just seems really important. And having that public school culture
Mhm.
had some long-term repercussions on my health.
I would think so. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to unlearn what you have learned.
Mhm.
I think that's a really good lesson for right now too, because the United States is such like in a period of like work hustle.
Yeah.
Like, because we're all so behind in having enough money to live.
Mhm.
The amount we're all making hasn't risen with the cost of everything. So the idea of being able to take time to care for our own health is not feasible for a lot of people. So I hate that
Mhm.
you went through that, Claire.
Yeah.
And I think it's good advice for anybody out there right now that, you know,
Take a
it's,
sick day.
and even if you feel like you can't, do your best to look out to your community. Because I have seen a lot of nice community groups starting to uh, form that are looking to fill in the gaps for food insecurity, that are looking to care for their neighbors. So don't think you have to go it alone.
Mhm.
If you
Mhm.
do need to take those sick days and times, do your best to look to your community for what resources are available.
Mhm.
I think that's a great follow up lesson for that. So, yeah, thanks for sharing.
It's a good one. Katie,
Yeah, absolutely.
what would be yours?
um, you know, a little bit on the lines, well, okay, maybe not a little bit on the lines of Bonnie, but it definitely has to do with that dude component piece, right? But it's more like it was when I think I was like 12 or 13. I had somebody tell me that because I was overweight, men would never be interested in me.
And you punched him in the throat?
No. So
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like I spent a lot of my adolescence and teenage years being very preoccupied with trying to find men that might like me. Not
Mhm.
necessarily changing my weight or changing anything about me, but just looking to see like, is this true? Is this not? Like testing this premise
Mhm.
and kind of exploring we're talking about like personal change. It's like, okay, so if I don't do this personal change, what is available to me? What can I have? What's going to happen? Like very preoccupied by this when there were so much better things to do.
Yeah.
Like Bonnie had fucking better things to do than smile at dudes. And I
Mhm.
had better things to do than see if there were going to be dudes that wanted to be in a relationship with me.
Yeah.
Because come to find out in my 30s and then fuck at 40s,
Mhm.
dudes are kind of easy.
Yeah.
Not all. I mean, it's complicated, but it's not that deep. So you know what?
Mhm. Mhm.
Focus on you, women out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there was something where I don't think it would be called a theory. It would be like a joke kind of thing. A joke that's like kind of true is something of like if men and women are at a bar at the end of the night, if a woman wants to leave with a man, she can. Like
Mhm.
she
Yeah.
will have many options.
Mhm.
Versus if a dude's going to the bar to find a
Mm,
lady, he may not leave with the lady.
Mhm.
yeah. What's that
Yeah.
say about our men though? Do they need to smile less,
Right.
work on
Right.
They
themselves
need to smile
more?
more.
Be
Yeah.
more authentic.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
in touch with their feelings. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
feeling very Yoda and Obi-Wan today. I don't know why.
I feel like I can bridge this gap.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I can bridge this gap into my lady.
I love it when that happens. Yes.
Right? I feel like I'm always good at this. This is like a gymnastic move. I'm gonna like do uh the balance beam and I'm gonna do some kind of somersault and totally stick it. So you guys ready?
Stick it.
Really hoping this is a setup for a pun that she either built bridges or was a gymnast.
Fuck no, Bonnie. You expect so much from me. Really, I was just gonna, be real me focused and be like, we talked about my trauma.
And so,
And I
yes.
have
Okay.
a lady for you
Yes.
that experienced trauma in her life and used that experience and that trauma and her early experiences to change her life and then use that change to make a huge difference in other people's lives.
Yay.
That's who I have for you. And I do love that story. Call me a hopeless romantic, but I do love when somebody can like focus on themselves, take care of themselves, cherish themselves, find their true self, and then use that knowledge to help other people achieve the
Yeah.
same thing. Women should help women, right? And this
Exactly.
woman is not just helping women, she's helping many different people.
Yay.
Yes, I'm going to be telling you about Maia Szalavitz. Despite the exotic name, she was born here in the US of A. She was actually
Sweet.
born in Oklahoma, but raised most of her life in New York. She was born in 1965, so she still is living,
Sweet.
and which is very cool because
Yeah.
if you're into what I'm telling you about and you want to learn more about her, you can go to her website. You can find interviews with her on YouTube. You can find podcasts with her talking about things. So if you'd like to explore this topic more, there's a lot out there for you to dig into. Um, but she is known as a neuroscientist, journalist, and a neuroscientist writer. She is
Ooh.
also a leading advocate in harm reduction. Does the idea
Nice.
of that harm reduction ring any bells for anybody? You know what
Mm,
I mean with this?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm
that's
Tell
fine.
not.
me
That's
You
more.
fine.
can't hear me, but I'm not.
Right.
Totally fine. I'm referring to harm reduction as it applies to addiction.
Addiction. Okay. I didn't know if it
As it
was
applies to addiction.
suicide
Yeah,
or okay.
yeah,
Gotcha. Which is yeah, okay, I getcha.
yeah. So her personal change story and rebellion starts from her late teens through early 20s when she went through a time of addiction when she was using cocaine and heroin, and she was also dealing drugs to support her habit of drug use. She was eventually caught by the police. And of course, she faced felony charges and possibly a long prison sentence because not
Oh,
only was she using, she was selling.
yeah.
Um, so she was able to get her sentence was reduced in exchange for her entering treatment.
Nice.
And she does talk about this, and she talks about how the fact that she's a white woman and she attended an Ivy League school because she did attend Columbia University. It's not the university she graduated from,
Mhm.
but she did graduate from a different university in New York. I forget which one now. Sorry, guys. Um, and she graduated like top of her class. So
Nice.
this is a very smart lady who also had a drug addiction for cocaine and heroin. That storyline tracks.
Yeah.
Addiction happens to people in all walks of
Mhm.
life, right? Um, so because of her privilege, she was able to get the rehab instead of the long sentence. And
Mhm.
she readily admits that because of her privilege, this was why she was able to get the deal in rehab.
Yeah.
So she said, one of her quotes is, "What saved me wasn't punishment, it was compassion, support, and science."
Ah.
So I think that like recognition of the opportunity to find the change and the component of it being science is what
Mhm.
really led her down the path to becoming a neuroscientist writer and writing about addiction and studying that neuroscience component to it. So, one of her big things is that she challenges the idea of a disease model with addiction.
Hmm.
Ooh.
What she likes, she has an entire book called Unbroken Brain, which she argues that addiction isn't a moral failing or a simple brain disease, but instead she refers to it as a learning disorder.
Mm.
Hmm.
She refers to it as a maladaptive pattern of behavior that's rooted in trauma, stress, or disconnection. She said, addiction is not about seeking pleasure, it's about escaping pain.
Oh yeah.
And I find this like super interesting because my interpretation when I read that was kind of like in a very simplistic way, because I've been doing a lot of therapy myself. I kind of see this as like she's saying learning disorder. When we learn, we have to not only be capable of learning, we have to have basically like being capable of learning means we have to have the tools to learn, right? We have
Right.
to have the ability to learn. And she's saying, these people that struggle with this don't have the tools. So
Mhm.
we're talking about people that maybe don't have traditional coping skills that are acceptable in society, so they're turning to different drugs or different substances. So I believe that's what she's
Yeah,
trying to express by the idea of learning disorder. Like they
I
haven't
like that.
learned, to reach out to others, to find different coping skills, even if they're solitary. They're using substances to escape pain. And
Yeah.
I've listened to some of her recent YouTube videos. Um, and in a lot of them, she kind of ends her interviews talking about how she feels like the future of drugs is not necessarily like eradicating them, but making safer drugs that are less harmful. Because she kind
Uh,
of talks about how people are always going to need escape.
mhm.
So, what can we do to keep people safe? To keep
Ah,
people still plugged in and connected? To keep
mhm.
people healthy? Because she has a good point. Think about all that's on the market right now that's is kind of a synthetic of THC.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're safe, if they're okay. I mean, there's still research to be done and things to find out, but there's always going to be different kinds of drugs and
Mhm,
different things out there for people to try.
mhm.
So that's why I think for her, harm reduction is a big part of what she preaches.
I
So
like that.
she is one of the first people that brought harm reduction to the United States. A lot of it was first introduced over in especially the UK. And that includes like the needle exchange programs,
Mhm.
the safe consumption sites, decriminalization of drugs, which I would say we're still probably pretty behind on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But, with weed, we're taking baby steps, right?
Mhm,
Also, ending abstinence only treatment models.
mhm.
She also used her platform because she's worked and written articles for a lot of very mainstream news sources like newspapers, magazines, whatever. She also went after the rehab industry,
Mhm,
Mm.
which is very unregulated. A lot of it is based in like punitive philosophy.
mm.
It's based on punishment. Many of them are faith based rather
Mhm.
than science based. Um, and then a lot of them are very traumatizing rather than healing.
Right.
So she really focused on trying to expose and correct that system to the best of her abilities. So her books, she has a lot of them. Some of them are co-authored. Her more recent ones that are written just by herself are The Unbroken Brain. The Unbroken Brain was came out in 2016, and it reframes addiction as a learning disorder. It also is part memoir. Talks about the cutting edge science that's available right now about addiction, and it really rebukes tough love and abstinent only models. There's also more recently her Undoing Drugs, which is a 2021 book, and it tells the untold story of the harm reduction movement. Um, it also talks about many other activists, users, and doctors who fought for life saving reform. So she's really kind of shining that light on other people in the movement who have had a big impact. And it also kind of reclaims the narrative around drugs and policy.
Mhm.
So instead of people speaking out who have never been in that position, she's looking at people who have been maybe either personally involved or, um, you know, had people that were directly maybe related to them or been just a few steps away from this experience, people that are a lot closer than your congressman that
Mhm.
may not have ever had this experience. Um, so here's why she's a rebel in my opinion. She overcame heroin cocaine addiction, and then she took that to become an advocate against punitive drug laws. She turned her arrest into an opportunity to push for harm reduction
Mhm.
and decriminalization instead of using prison as punishment for people with drug offenses. She refused to be shamed and silenced, but instead wants to rewrite the public narrative on addiction. I love that too, that she's like, hey, it's a learning disorder.
Mhm.
Anybody can struggle, anybody can be missing, um, you know, abilities, keys, parts of their learning, parts of their experiences. Anybody can be affected by trauma.
Mhm.
Um, and, we need to use science and what we've learned the best as we can to help those people find different different skills,
Mhm.
different ways, or if they can't, at least reduce the harm.
Yeah.
So she also uses her story as a political tool to challenge the flawed $1 million rehab system, which is truly incredible. Because if you ever go after the money, you know that's a scary thing to do,
Mhm.
right? She also has a 2006 book called Help at Any Cost: How the Troubled Teen Industry Cons Parents and Hurts Kids. And that's the first one that exposed the damage caused by tough love, youth treatment, and that helps spur congressional hearings
Oh,
into those kind of treatment programs.
nice. The
Which I,
Scared Straight program and things like
yeah,
that? Okay.
right, which I think is huge
Mhm.
because it can be hard for especially young voices to be heard
Yeah.
and to be given enough weight. So
Mhm.
having her throw in her voice and her advocacy to that program was amazing.
Mhm.
She also co-authored a book with Dr. Bruce Perry that's really famous about childhood trauma called The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog.
Oh, yeah, I've heard this title because it sticks with you. It's very sticky
Right?
title of what now?
I really don't know anything about it, but I do know that it's pretty like well known sort of thing.
Yeah.
So and I could go on because I found lots of really cool things about her, lots of cool interviews out there.
Mhm.
Um, but I will leave that to everybody to dig in a little deeper if they want to. Because I think that's the cool thing. I love when we cover women from history's past,
Mhm.
and sometimes there is more information to find. Sometimes you run into dead ends. But I think it is very cool when we cover more modern ladies that are still active that you
Mhm.
can kind of go to
Mhm.
and follow. So if you found this interesting, look out for her in social media, look out for her website,
Mhm.
and dig in and learn more about her philosophy. I highly encourage it.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sounds like we're making some headway with some of that, but then not headway in some of the others. Um, we
Still
got
more work to
marijuana,
do. Yeah.
yeah, marijuana being legal in quite a few states now, and then I think a lot of either states or towns have been reducing sentences um, for those things. But here in Indiana, we got rid of our needle exchange and
Yeah.
had an HIV outbreak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the stories she shares is about herself in the 90s shooting up and how she considered herself well informed. And
Mm.
she was sharing needles, and she had a friend come from the West Coast and was like, showed her how to sanitize needles because she's like, no, you cannot do that. And
Wow.
she credits that friend with saving her from getting HIV. And that was one of her
Mm.
examples of harm reduction because
Mhm.
the friend was actually like, came out to kind of have an intervention and be like, you guys have to
Mm.
stop, but also like shared that knowledge. So,
Yeah. If you're
and
not going to stop, let
right,
me lead you to a safer.
Hmm.
and she shares a lot of great information about how harm reduction does not lead to an increase in usage, which is always
Right.
kind of, I feel like, the thing that people argue as well. If you do harm reduction, people are just going to use more, get more addicted, more people are going to start. And that's just not what the data shows. And since it's so controversial, there's been a lot of data analysis studies on this idea of harm reduction. And
Yeah.
it's just not the truth that harm reduction encourages usage.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, but it's a scary time too to think about these kind of laws because it made me think
Mhm.
of it, Bonnie, when you said that. We all know that in government right now they're trying to push back the ages for offenses and for being
Mhm.
tried as an adult.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ways they try to fill the prisons is with these drug infractions.
Mhm.
So I think it's a really great time to also keep decriminalizing drugs on your radar as something to advocate for if that's what you
Mhm.
believe.
Yeah. It's a nice little rebellion hill, if you will. We all have our own
Yeah.
little kind of like, hills that we're going to die on, that we're going to, protect, that we're going to
Hmm.
speak truth to power in. And it's a good little rebellious one for that.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Well, did you want to wrap us up?
I would be happy to.
Because I know people are going to be like, I need a keyboard warrior. Learn more.
Absolutely. I know I'm extremely inspirational.
Yes, you are, Katie. Yes, you
Oh,
are.
yes. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as another gal who experienced personal change is picked to share as Gal's Guide podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
That's another chapter in our Rebel era. Thanks for being here. If you loved learning about women's history today, don't stop. Discover even more wise gals and untold stories at galsguide.org. Until next time, keep sharing women's stories.